Welcome back to 7Shadows Market. We are Montgomery, Alabama's Enchanted Geek Shop, located inside Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall, 425 Coliseum Blvd. Come on down to the bunker, down to the basement. That's where the big section is, including the Wall o' Funko. I'm coming to you in front of the Wall o' Funko because this is a second of two videos that I have done regarding the changes that Funko has made and how they will trickle down to you and what you can maybe expect as a consumer. Please check out the first video that I did right before this, where it went over the changes that Funko made in their distribution policy for Funko dealers. The quick bullet points of that, because I did about an 11-12 minute spiel on it, so watch that video. The quick bullet points, though, is in order to be a Funko Direct dealer, to buy directly from them, annual minimum spend of $25,000, and each order that you place must be a minimum of $2,500. The math they used was averaging the last 2 years, 2019 and 2020, see what your annual spend was. And of course, we had the coronavirus shut down at tons of businesses and a whole economy for one of the years that they decided to make this model up through. That tirade's covered in that video. So what that basically does is that sent a lot of folks clamoring. Check out that video for that information. What I want to focus on today is another Funko announcement. Funko's chosen a weird time to make all these different announcements. So, but based on the way things are, I can speak freely now and not have Funko threaten my account or anything. They already took care of that. Now, they recently announced a MAP policy, a minimum advertised price policy. This is an industry standard thing. I've dealt with MAP policies forever when I was a general manager and an operations manager in music retail. MAP prices stand for minimum advertised price. What this means is you cannot, a dealer cannot advertise an item below the price that the vendor states, right? They cannot advertise the price of the product below what the vendor states in order to keep their supply agreement. So, I believe $11.99 is what Funko set as their minimum advertising price. Here's where it gets a little slippery. Now, what I also want to tell you is what MAP policy is not. If you're a retail veteran, you know this stuff, so I'm not giving you any information you don't already know, and please take it from the mountains. That's minimum advertised pricing, MAP. What MAP is not is unilateral pricing policy. Unilateral pricing policy is when a manufacturer, retailer, whatever, when a vendor tells retailers that you cannot sell this item below this price. What that means is it doesn't matter. If you're getting product from this vendor, I don't care if you're a huge place or a small place, you cannot sell it below the price I have set. Key wording difference. Unilateral pricing policy, you cannot sell it below this price. MAP policy, minimum advertising price policy, you cannot advertise it below the price I set. Funko's is a MAP policy. Now, here is where the tentacles trickle down and we see how this works out. So, if you were able to meet all those requirements from Funko, which we know the huge retailers do, which is what they're trying to focus on, is huge distribution places and huge vendors, not the heart and soul of the Funko world, which was the independents that bought these weird things. No one was going to buy these, but they were sitting in your local comic book shop, and that's the only place you could get them when they first came out. And most of those are worth tons of money on the aftermarket these days. Now, so if you're going to get from me Funko, you cannot advertise it below $11.99. Otherwise, we'll pull your deal and we won't supply you product anymore. Okay, you can't advertise. What does advertising entail? Well, if you're on the web, So a web listing is going to be advertising because it is in that format. That's why when you see a lot of things that say call for price, again, going back to my music retail experience, that's why when you would get your catalogs, American Music Supply, and all these kind of things, you would see these catalogs and would say call for price. Well, as annoying as that is, they couldn't put it in the catalog as that, because they'd be violating their agreement with whatever the guitar or drum company was. So you could call them and say, hey, what's the price on XYZ? Well, the price is $2,500, even if the map was $3,000. They can sell it to you, they can't advertise. Well, if you're in an internet world, imagine, if you will, trying to list a bunch of Funko Pops that you're dealing direct from Funko because you meet all the requirements, but you had to put call for price, call for price, call for price, call for price. That's going to be a bit of a challenge for those kind of folks. But if you're in a store and you get direct from Funko, you can sell them for whatever you want. You just can't advertise it. And also keep in mind, this also means if you're going to have a 20% off coupon, you have to put in the disclaimers not applicable to any vendor that has a MAP policy. If you have a BOGO promo, you have to put that vendor isn't part of it. I will dip once again to my music retail experience. We would send out these coupons and there would be 100,000 vendors listed that weren't participating in the promotion. And I always would have customers say, well, these coupons are worthless because you can't use them on anything. And whether I should or shouldn't have, it wasn't the point. I made sure to let them know, hey, here's the deal. I can't advertise, this company cannot advertise that item being part of this sale because it goes against this policy. I can sell you that. That coupon will work on this item. We're going to do the deal. I just can't, for sake of agreements, we can't advertise it. Otherwise, they'll pull all their gear out. Now, there were things that were unilateral pricing that you still couldn't, because unilateral pricing is different. Again, if a vendor reviews your sales and finds that you sold anything below what they said the unilateral pricing was, they'll yank their agreement, and they'll pull you out. They'll pull out real fast, and they won't make any bones about it. So, in the MAP policy, that's where you get the rub. So what you would see is things with Funko like the BOGOs. Again, you can't advertise it being below, or Funko will terminate your deal. Now, this is where the slope gets a little slippery, and they're trying to figure out how far they want to enforce this. So, case in point, Funko sells to a distributor. So the distributor is buying it from them. They're not advertising. The distributor is buying it from Funko. Now, if you're a retailer like 7Shadows now, because we're no longer buying direct from Funko because they terminated those agreements, because I'm not going to spend $25,000 on one kind of item annually. That ain't happening. I get from a distributor. Now, theoretically, I could advertise it at whatever I want, because I'm not part of Funko's deal. I'm not dealing with Funko. Funko can't terminate the deal with me. However, what Funko could do is tell the distributors, hey, be sure you track what your vendors are doing, because if your vendors are advertising below the MAP price, we'll stop selling to you. And if we stop selling to you, they're not getting it. That could be part of the deal. I don't know how far they want to go with enforcement, because quite frankly, having been through this with them, Funko has tons of people not working there. You know, they found, I'm a patient person. I really am, especially with the pandemic and the corona. I know things change. But when I went from a service level of my rep would call back or email me back within 48 hours to it takes 3 weeks just for someone to send you an update onto what your current order list is, or answer a simple question, you know. So there's a lot of things happening there. So that is the key difference, and we'll see where that goes. That could be where it goes. Now, let me give you another idea, a thought process of, on one hand, where MAP would be a good thing. So if you're a smaller dealer, we know that if you're a mom and pop, your buy rates are going to be lower than the huge corporate entities. Okay, we know that. Thus, even me as a consumer, I know that there's things that I may pay $1 more for, or a little more for at a mom and pop shop, but I like to do that because, and I've always liked to do that because I know that that's going directly to them. It's going to pay their light bill, their rent, their mortgage, whatever, buy the kid lunch, all that kind of stuff. I've had customers before that made a big purchase say, cool, thanks, you paid my phone bill, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And that's really the way it is. So that's where that sometimes the extra $1, extra 50 cents goes. Now, that being said, there's a whole different part. So in theory, you could say, well, that's cool. This is a good benefit for the mom and pop places because now you have the big corporate entities have to advertise at the same price that the mom and pops would. Okay, I can see that. However, we go back to the fact that it's just an advertising policy, and how much are the vendors going to get involved, the distributors get involved with the vendors that they're buying, that they're selling to, as far as enforcement. The other part of that tier that I want to make clear is this, because I can always kind of see a subplot in some sort of things. So if Funko has the MAP policy, right, and they're selling huge amounts to the biggest distribution places and the large amounts to the biggest corporations, and that's what they're focusing on because they've squeezed out all the small shops. They won't deal direct with the small shops. Now, this puts a lot of control up here at the top. Why? Well, Funko's probably, I would not be surprised if Funko raises their prices because everything's more expensive now. Funko also, tons of their product, most of their product is made in China, and a large portion of it is made in Vietnam, but the biggest chunk comes from China. We know there's stuff sitting out on boats right now. There are items right now from Funko that were supposed to be available the fourth quarter that are on the books now to be released late next year. There's a lot of product that is not coming out, that is not being produced. So, if they raise their costs, who can afford that? The distribution places, you may see a couple drop out, and I know there's been a few that have dropped out, but keep in mind, they've funneled their previous Funko Direct customers to only a handful of distributors. So if these outlayer distributors jump out of it, it doesn't matter because they have these huge ones, including one that sells direct to customers. They've already got them, and they're already going to have the Walmarts of the world and all the large corporate entities. And I'm not anti-corporate. I always say this when I go into these. I'm not anti-corporate, but they are going to be able to afford it anyway. They'll work it out. They will work it out because as low of a buy rate as they're getting per unit, they can afford it. So I think there's another tier to it that could be Funko trying to gain more control and focus even more just in the high dollar corporate volume funnel. Because that would make sense, especially since they've already opened the door to these are the distributors we prefer you to use. And we're only going to give you their contact information to deal with them. And so we'll just work with the large corporate entities, the hugest distributors, and that's going to be their focus. And you will see probably some smaller distributors who, once they add their money that they need on top of it, there'll be people like me that are, well, I can make this work, I can make this work, but now if the costs go up and they raise their costs, I can't, I'm out. And a lot of people will be out. So you'll have the smaller distributors out of it, and then you'll have the smaller vendors out of it. That is another tier that you could look at as far as what all this means. We're gonna see how it works out in the future. That's what you can expect. There's again, as I've said before, there's a lot of tentacles to this. It'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping it will fall more in the bucket that I discussed, where, hey, you don't have to worry about it if you're not buying direct from Funko, but I can really see them putting pressures on the distributors, especially the smaller distributors, because the way the businesses work, I got a feeling that they would put, if they went the route of the distributors needing to put pressure on their vendors, well, they're gonna probably choose to audit and look at the smaller distributors more so, because they can live without them if they keep pumping the huge ones, as well as selling everything to the huge corporate entities. So, is it a conspiracy? Is it smart business? I don't know. I'm just sharing with you the information. So immediately, how you'll see these things here, I discussed it in the previous video. Hey, I really love Funko Pops. I love carrying the products. I think they're fantastic. There's something for everyone. They're really, really cool, and I enjoy them. And I'll enjoy coming into the shop every morning and looking at all these little eyeballs staring across at me. But it does affect the way that you do business for someone like me, because where I used to be able to get, at my typical pop shipment, I'd have multiple cases of 24 different pops. Well, the way the model is now, I have to go with some guaranteed sure sellers. So what it would be, instead of having 24 different pops, multiple cases of 24 different pops, it'll be, okay, I just need to have 3 different styles of surefire sells, because if I'm making less on them, I have to ensure that I'm selling faster what I have. So it has more popular titles, so it's possible you might have less of those. Well, somebody will buy this, because I spoke to the only 5 fans in the world of this week. Which is what I always like to do, because I'm typically one of those 5 fans. And one of my challenges has always been, when I buy stuff, is anyone else like this, or am I just buying it because I like it? And I have made that mistake before and assumed that a lot of people liked the item, and I said, oh, cool. I'm still staring at 24 of these, but darn, I like that show. If you have any questions about this, come around the shop. Let's talk. Let's rap about it. Feel free to share this video. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of talk, and I know the world is loaded with YouTube videos, so I appreciate you taking the time just to check this one out. A lot of information. We'll see. I think that there's even more changes to come. I can't forecast this in my skull, but because of the rapid amount of ever-changing things in this world, and I am highly critical of certain aspects of Funko, the way that their business model is, just like I was in music retail of Gibson guitars. There's a lot of things that happen on the business side that are separate from what you enjoy as a consumer, and that's what this is. But I don't deal direct with Funko anymore, so again, I can be clear, transparent, and voice my opinion and let you guys know what's going on, because I've checked out some of the other videos that are out there, and there's some folks kind of getting it half right, but I haven't seen anyone digging as deep into trying to give you guys all the pertinent information. So I believe November 1st is when this 2021 is when this map policy is supposed to take place with Funko. That's what it boils down to. So if you have any questions, again, come on by. I know I'm rambling at this point, but golly, if you've looked, I've done 2 videos today, and it's been 7 months since I've done one of these. So I can't tell you when the next one's going to be, because what it seems like my YouTube schedule is, I'll do a bunch in a week, and I'll say, yeah, I'm gonna release these regularly, and then I don't. I just bomb all 7 out, and then half a year or more passes, and I say, oh, crud, I haven't done one. Well, that's all I have today. Thank you for spending some time to geek around with me, and we talk about Funko Pops. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and if you're not, maybe I said something goofy enough just to make you smile. Remember, 7Shadows Market is Montgomery, Alabama's Enchanted Geek Shop. We are located inside Eastbrook Flea Market and Antique Mall, 425 Coliseum Blvd. Come on downstairs into the basement, which is accessible by stairs, which are in the middle of the main floor, as well as the elevator, which is in the back of the main floor. come on down for more information. Check out all the social medias. I've got Facebook at 7 Shadows Market. This is all with the number. So 7 Shadows Market. I have it's on Pinterest. Same thing on Instagram. You can always find all this information and all these links on the website 7shadows.com. That's the number 7, the word shadows.com. Keep on geeking on, my friends.